Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on director amendments. My name is Simon Fenyani from Corporate Education and Voluntary Compliance, and I'll be your facilitator for this session. Throughout the webinar, we encourage you to post any questions related to the topic in the comment section. For queries beyond the scope of today's session, please refer to the contact details available on the CIPC website. We are pleased to be joined today by Mr. Thomas Lebete from the Directors, Members and Practitioners Unit, who will be delivering the presentation and responding to your questions during the Q&A session at the end. I'll now hand over to Mr. Thomas to start with his presentation. Over to you, Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Fenyani, and good morning to everyone. You are welcome to today's presentation. Just to kickstart, my name is Thomas, as I've already been introduced, Mashudu Thomas Lebete, and then I will take you through the director amendment process. And then at the end of the session, then you can send in your questions for clarity. So, Ruzani, okay. Yeah. In a company, there will be a time where the vacancies arise in the board of directors, and then the vacancies can arise in different ways. It can be through the resignation of a director or the deceased director, or it can be through the incapacitated director who is no longer able to perform the functions of a director. He might be bedridden. And then the vacancy can also arise through the removal of a director for various reasons that can be done by the shareholders or by the board of directors. It can also be through the term expired for the director who has been employed maybe for a certain period and then the term has come to an end. And then or through the retirement where the person has to go on retirement or the person has been declared delinquent by the court. So all this will create vacancies within the board of directors in a company. So we have the two processes to file the director amendments. The moment there is a vacancy in the company, you either select the OTP process or the back office process. The OTP process only caters for the resignation or the appointment of a new director. So whenever you appoint a director or resignation of a director, then the OTP process will be followed, whereby the affected directors together with the filer will receive the OTP to confirm the change. And then once they have responded to the OTP, the application will be automatically approved without human intervention. So there is no supporting documents required in this process. Only confirmation of the OTP is sufficient to approve the change of directors in a company. Then we will move over to the next slide where we have the second process, which is for the back office. In this back office process, we find that whenever the person is deceased, the application will go to the back office, or maybe the director is being removed, or the term has expired, or it's a retirement. So all these applications, all these transactions will go to the back office for processing. And then the supporting documents will also be required here, but the OTP in this process will only go to the filer because he's the one who filed the application, and then he will receive the OTP to confirm that this filing is legitimate. And then from there, the system will automatically channel the application to the back office queue so that it can be processed there. Then the other thing that people need to know is that before you can do any filing, all South Africans will have to be verified. So you'll be verified once by the Department of Home Affairs, and then all the foreigners will go through the foreign assurance verification process that is conducted by CIPC. So if you are a South African, then you will be verified through Home Affairs. For the foreigners, it will be through foreign assurance verification process conducted by CIPC. This process is only done once. Once you are verified, then in the next process that you are going to file, then you will not be verified again. Then before you can do the filing, the filer must, how the customer can obtain the amended CR39 certificate. Once you have filed the application and then the application has been approved, remember you get the reference number of the application on the system, and then you need to access that reference number, and then below the history application, then you will see the selection of COR 39 certificate where you need to download the certificate. Then you need to click in that button, and then from there you go and reprint, then you will get the certificate. So in this case, it means that now whenever you need the certificate of CR39, then you need to follow this process. And then at any given time, there is no limit. You can print out the certificate at any given time. So this is the way now you can access the certificate from the system. So the other challenge that we have with the director amendment is the issue date of the ID, whereby, as you can see, the ID copy has got the issue date. And then when you are verified, then you will be required to insert the issue date in the system. So some of the issue dates are correct as per ID or the smart card, but sometimes you find that the system now doesn't take the OTP, I mean the issue date. So we have got the directive from the corporate legal that all cases whereby the ID book, the issue date there is not taken by the system, then that one should be referred to Home Affairs for assistance. Because remember that the information that we use to verify the people comes directly from Home Affairs. So if you insert the issue date and then the system doesn't take it because it is verified at Home Affairs, then you need to contact them just to find out what is the problem with the issue date, because that information is not kept by CIPC, it is with the Department of Home Affairs. So Home Affairs advised in the past that people should normally use the latest issue date that they have received on the ID, because you find that you have got the ID in the past and then with different issue dates. So when you come to verification, they recommend that you need to use the latest issue date of the ID of the smart card. So how to appoint and resign a director. Here you'll find that the filer has been appointed to do the transaction. So the filer must have the customer code, because without customer code, you won't be able to file the director amendment. So you will need to log in with your customer code and the password. And then once you are on the website, then you will select the transact button on the top screen. And then from there, you will need to go through all the steps as requested on the guideline up until the end of the process. Once you have finalized the change of directors, you will get the proposed change document just to let you know that there is a change that is about to happen. So and so is going to be resigned, or so and so is going to be removed, so and so is going to be appointed. So you will get that document before the final application is finalized. Then you will get the proposed change, and then after that, once you get once you receive the OTP, is then that you will have to respond to the OTP to confirm the change. And then once you have responded to the change, the application will be auto-approved by the system. And then the certificate will automatically be sent to all the parties involved, which means that all the directors in the company, together with the filer, will receive the certificate. But if you want to download the certificate in future, then you will have to follow the process that I have indicated in the earlier slide. And remember that people, they are not supposed to file the manual CR39 anymore. We are no longer having a system to process manual CR39. So because we see a lot of inquiries whereby people want to change the directors, but they submitted the manual CR39. So since the 4th of December 2023, we have discontinued the manual CR39 when we introduced the new K2 system that is currently in place. So do not submit the manual application because it is not going to be processed. You need to file direct amendments based on the current K2 system, whereby you will have to go into the system and do all the changes. And then if it's a resignation or appointment, then the OTP will be issued to the affected directors. And remember that the OTP is valid for 96 hours, which means that the moment you receive the OTP, make sure that you respond to it immediately, because after 96 hours, it will expire, and then now you will have to refile again because you cannot use that OTP anymore. Then there is also the change of contact details of directors. This part is causing a problem at CIPC. Currently, we got a lot of complaints that the contact details were changed. And then after the contact details were changed, the directors are resigned without their knowledge. And then it becomes a problem because now there is an objection that has to be filed, which is another process. So the contact details change. We just need people to assist us with this because we are having a serious challenge. So we have developed a new step-by-step guide to change contact details, which is now available on the website. And then we also introduced the notice number 5 of 2025 that deals with the process of responding to change of contact details, whereby there is a link that is normally sent to the old and the new contact details for the director to approve or to object the change. So the confirmation of change should be done within 24 hours. After that, the application will lapse. So once the rightful owner objects the application within 24 hours, that application will automatically be terminated, even if the other person has already approved. So this part is very much important because we have seen that many people receive the link and then they ignore the link. And then after 24 hours, you find that the changes are approved. And then once the changes are approved, and then the person who changed the contact details can now file direct amendments and then resign the director without the knowledge of that director. So you don't need to keep quiet or to ignore the link that comes from CIPC. Once you receive it, if you didn't initiate this change of contact details, you must immediately select the object option so that the application can automatically be cancelled. And then because if you keep quiet, the person who filed, remember, will automatically, once receive the link, he will approve it. And then waiting for you to respond. If you don't respond, then the change will go through after 24 hours. So you don't have to ignore. You need to take action immediately. If you didn't initiate the change, please just click on the object so that the transaction can be cancelled immediately. So we also have the filer not able to update the contact details of directors. In this case, we find that in the past, people used to log in and do the change of contact details of directors without their knowledge. So currently, through the process that I've indicated now, only the affected director can update these contact details. So which means that you need to file to submit the change of contact details after you have logged in with your login details. So you need to keep your login details safe, because that is where the problem is, whereby people access your login details and then they log in as if it's you, and then you receive the notification that the change of contact details is about to happen, and then you ignore it. And then that person approved the change, and then from there he filed the application to resign you. So here we allow only the affected director to update his contact details, so that we can avoid hijacking of companies without the knowledge of the correct directors. So the filer can update that information only if he has been given the login details by the affected director to say, here is my customer code, go and do the change of contact details. My new email address is this one, my new cell number is this one. Then that person will have to go and do the filing using the login details of the director. But still, the director will have to confirm the change by approving the link that will be sent to him, either on a cell phone or via the email. But without approval of the link, then the change will not take place. So that is very much important. You don't have to ignore. You need to respond. It's either you approve or you reject. You don't have to ignore, because otherwise the changes will go through. Customers not able to add the second name of the director on the system. So we have a situation where you find by the time the company was registered, and then the director was registered maybe with one name, or maybe the director has got 3 names, but only 2 names were registered. And then now when you go to the bank, you find that they don't accept the certificate with because it doesn't match with the ID copy. So where you find that the one name is missing, you need to go to our step-by-step guides. You will see there is a step-by-step guide that deal with that information, whereby you will have to update your name or surname, and then to include the second name or the third name on the certificate. Then you go into that step-by-step guide. It will guide you through up until the end. And remember that the change that you are requesting will only appear after you have responded to the OTP, because at the end of the transaction, the OTP will be sent to you to confirm the change. If you don't respond to the OTP, the change will not go through. So you have to respond to the OTP so that the change can be effected. So on the step-by-step guide, you will see on the step number 11, there will be a DHA full name update. You need to select that button, because that button will now retrieve information from the record of Home Affairs to show that instead of one name, the person has got 3 names. Then it will pull out the information from Home Affairs, and then that information will now appear on the certificate. So you need to proceed with the filing up until the end. And then once you are done, and then you have responded to the OTP, the certificate will be generated, and then it will now come with additional name as per the record at Home Affairs. So now everything will now be sorted with regard to the omission of one name. So we also have a situation where you can go to the previous slide. We also have the situation where the director resigned, but is not responding to the OTP. Remember that, as I've indicated in the past, that the resignation and appointment will only be approved by responding to the OTP. So if a person has resigned, the filing cannot go to the back office. There will be no resignation that will be processed at the back office, because you will remember I've indicated to you that at the back office, it will only be the deceased director, the removal of a director, the term expired of a director, or the retirement of a director. So those 4 will be processed at the back office. No resignation will be done at the back office. So the resignation and the appointment will only be approved by responding to the OTP. So where the director has resigned and is not providing the OTP, it means that now he's holding the company to a ransom. So the company may file an application to remove him as a director because he's refusing to respond to the OTP. So the removal process will have to be followed so that the person can be removed, whereby you will have to indicate the notice that was issued to that person, and then you will also have to indicate the resolution that was taken by either the board or the shareholders to remove the director. So that resolution is very important. It needs to come with the application so that we can see that who took the resolution to remove the director. Was it the board of the directors or was it the shareholders? So you need to provide that document as well. So the entire removal process will have to be followed, even though the person has resigned. He gave in the company the resignation letter, but now he refused to hand over the LT or to respond to the OTP in order to effect the change. Then the company will have to remove that person by following the normal removal process. So how to cancel the transaction that is in process due to error made? You will find that sometimes when people do the filing, for example, they want to resign a director, but when they get to the status of the director, they change it from active. Instead of selecting resign, you select remove. And then once you select remove, then you have changed everything, because now the application is no longer going to be approved by OTP. Now it will have to go to the back office. And then you find that that was not the option that you are supposed to select. So in case where you find that you have selected the wrong option, remember that the board of directors or the shareholders passed the resolution that we have approved the resignation of a director. So the filer will have to implement as per resolution. So once you made a mistake and then you remove instead of resigning a director, then it means that the application will be rejected. And then once it is rejected, it will remain in the queue, which means that you cannot file another application, because you will have to respond to the query that has been issued with on that application, whereby they will tell you to follow the normal process of removal of a director, and then you find that you don't want to remove a director. So the application will remain in the queue, and then you cannot file another application until you resolve the query of that transaction. So in this case now, because you don't want to remove a director, you will have to, the board will have to send us the resolution to request for cancellation of that transaction so that we can remove it from the queue. And then once it is removed, then you can file the new application now with the correct status, because the application will be out of the queue. Then is then that you can be able to file the new application. So the board or the shareholders will have to request for the cancellation of the pending application that is blocking the filing of the new application. Then once we receive that request, then we will remove the application from the system. And then now the company can file the new application with the correct status of resignation, for example. Then we find a situation whereby people want to change the passport to South African ID. The person used to be a foreigner, and then now he got the South African ID, and then now they want to update to South African ID because maybe the passport has expired. Now they want to use the South African ID. On the step-by-step guide, we have got this option to update the passport. Then you follow that step-by-step guide in order to change from passport to South African ID. Once you indicate that you are using the South African ID, then you can be able to change the passport. So you can even change SAID to passport or vice versa. So the step-by-step guide that we have got on the website will assist you to do the update of that information. And then again, you cannot change the South African ID to South African ID unless if maybe your ID has got, let's say maybe the last 3 digits at the end of the ID number is wrong, maybe it's 000, then you can now be able to update the ID number. But the most important thing is that once you are changing from passport to ID or from ID to passport, you have to respond to the OTP at the end of the process. Because if you don't respond to the OTP, the changes will not be updated. So once you receive the OTP at the end of the process, you need to respond. Once you respond to the OTP, remember when you respond to the OTP, you just put in your ID number because there is a link that comes with the OTP. You click there, you will get a link. You click on your name, you go and put in your ID number that appears with the OTP, and then from there you put the OTP and then you click submit, then it's gone. Once you click submit, then it's fine, then the changes will be updated. Without responding to the OTP, the changes will not be updated. Company to be amended doesn't appear on the screen. We normally receive a lot of complaints from customers that I'm trying to file director amendments, but when I get to change history, I see the list of the list of companies, but the company that I want, it doesn't appear on the system. And then I cannot proceed to do the change of director. So the customer must search the company they want to make amendments under the associated company information page while they're on the director amendment portal. Once you get to this page that shows associated company information, then the company that you want, if it doesn't appear on the screen, you need to check on the right-hand side. You will see there is a block where you need to type in the company registration number. You will see it shows facility criteria, and then below there is a block. You type in your registration number there of the company that you want to make amendments on, and then from there you click the search button. From there, you will see the company that you want will now appear on the screen. And then from there, you can start to make changes moving forward. So once it appears once, in future, when you do the filing, then it will automatically reflect on the screen. Then we also have the unauthorized change of directors. This is another challenge that we have, because we do the change of directors after we receive the necessary documents. Once we have approved the application, and then we get an objection that no, this filing was not authorized by the company, or it was not authorized by me, because people come with different angles. But the main fact is that the company itself, according to Companies Act, the Companies Act requires the company to file an objection within 10 business days after the changes were registered to challenge unlawful change of directors, not the individual, because we find a situation whereby the board of directors or the shareholders have removed the directors. Once the person realized that he has been removed, he filed the CR 168 to challenge the removal, which is not supposed to be like that, because a person is not a company. The shareholders are the owners of the company. The board of directors represent the company. So if they took a resolution to change the director and then they remove a particular director, so the person cannot come back to CIPC to say, no, I've been removed, then I want CIPC to reinstate me. It doesn't work like that. It's the company that can file an objection whereby the company find that there is now a new director in the company who was not authorized by the company. So because we find a lot of situation whereby people appoint themselves in the company without approval of the shareholders or the board of directors. So in that case, the company will file an objection so that we can remove the unlawfully appointed director. But that objection need to be filed within 10 business days after the change was made. So in terms of this subsection 7, a filing that has been challenged in terms of the above subsection 6 is a nullity and must be removed from the register, which means that once we receive this objection, the change that was made will become nullified after we have reversed that change. So once the person has been removed, and then we receive the objection, and then that objection is approved. Once the objection is approved, that person cannot come back again and say, no, but the objection was wrong. It doesn't work like that. If you have been removed, and then we receive the objection, and then we find that the objection is approved, you cannot come back and say, no, that filing of CR 168 was wrong, and then I also need to file my 168. 168 form cannot challenge another COR 168. And furthermore, the COR 168 cannot be used to settle the disputes of directors. Because once there are disputes within the directors, you find that they start to file different CR 168. One will file CR 168 and the other one also file 168, which is not the way they need to resolve their disputes. CR 168 is only used by the company to challenge unlawfully filing that was submitted to CIPC. That's all. That is the intention of CR 168. Other than that, if people have got their own disputes, then they need to use different forum, not CIPC, in order to resolve such disputes that they've got in the company. So disputes should be referred to either company's tribunal or they may refer to court. So once those institutions have looked into the matter, they will issue the order to CIPC to say, CIPC, here is the order that you need to implement for this company. So and so need to be removed as directors, or so and so need to be reinstated as directors. So once there are some disputes within the company, CIPC now distance itself from the disputes, and then we wait for the company or the directors or the shareholders to resolve their disputes through court or company's tribunal. We are not involved in the problems that they've got. So in the meantime, we will have to freeze the application from the company so that we don't have to move back and forth, appointing, removing. Then we will put a stop on the company so that there is no any other further filing up until the court give a ruling or the company's tribunal give a ruling on the matter. Then once we get the order, then we will implement it, and then we know that these are now the correct directors that we have on our records. So this is the part of objection that people should follow, not to use it in a different way. So currently we have got important notice on the website. As I've already indicated, I want you to go and have a look on these practice notices because I cannot share with you right now, but you can go and access them on the website, and then you will go through and then understand what is exactly required under this particular practice notice. So the first notice, which is notice number 3, is the companies and their stakeholders in disputes. That is the one that I was highlighting just now, whereby the companies the directors or the shareholders that got some disputes, and then they're using the CR 168 to settle the scores. So, which is wrong. So they need to refer their disputes to either company's tribunal or to High Court, so that CIPC can be served with the notice or the order to implement whatever decision that has been taken by the court. So we leave everything to the directors and to the shareholders to resolve their disputes. And then in that process, we freeze any filing within that company up until we get the direction from the court or from the company's tribunal. So this is the notice that has been issued recently. You need to go through and get more information as to what exactly is expected from the company. We also have the notice number 37. The non-response on the link of director's change of contact details is the one that I've already touched, whereby they give you the process of responding to the link that is sent to the director once the change of contact details have been requested to be changed. So the non-response, that is where there is a problem. Once there is a non-response, people end up being resigned from the company without their approval. So if you go through this notice number 37 of 2025, it will tell you exactly what is expected from the directors with regard to the change of contact details. And then lastly, we also have the latest notice, which is about to be published soon. I decided to share this with you so that you will be aware that this is something that is coming. It's notice number 49 of 2025, the change of director's contact details. So this one is the same as the information that I've already indicated to you. But here we are trying to emphasize that under this notice, remember, there will be 3 issues that will happen. Firstly, it will be the director approval of the change of contact details. Once the director approves the change of contact details will be updated within 24 hours. The second thing is that once the director objects the change of contact details because he didn't initiate that change, he's not approving the change. Once the director objects the change, within 24 hours, the contact details will be cancelled immediately, which means that no change will be updated once the director has objected to the change. And the third option is when there is no response at all. If there is no response, and then the application after 24 hours will lapse, and then no change will take place because no one has responded. But once there is a response from one person, then something will happen. So which means that if it is approved, then within 24 hours, the change of contact details will be updated. If it is rejected by the director, even though the person who filed the application has already approved, if the affected director whose contact details are being changed reject the change, then it will automatically terminate the application, which means that the contact details will not be updated. But if no change or no response took place from both parties, the change has been made, but there is no response. After 24 hours, and then that application will lapse because no change was authorized. And then no change will take place, which means that the contact details will remain as they are. So that is the end of my presentation. If you can move to the next slide, then I thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you, Thomas. We'll now move on to the questions and answers session. So on the comments, the first question, Thomas, is I'm failing to retrieve my login credentials due to change of contact Is there
I'm not
a
sure
way?
because yeah, I see the question on the screen. I don't know if I have to respond to this or
Okay.
it's still the same. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You can go ahead, Tony.
Okay, the first one, someone said if I lost my old contact details. It's fine if you have lost the old contact details and then you do the change of contact details. The link will be sent to both old and the new, which means that on the old contact, because you cannot access it, there will be no response. Then the response will be on the new contact details. Once you respond to confirm this change is correct, then the contact details will be updated, even though on the old contact details there is no response. And then he said, Mohammed said, after I'm failing to retrieve my login credentials due to change of contact details, is the way, I don't know, I don't understand this question. I'm failing to retrieve my login credentials due change. I'm not sure about this question. What is the process for foreign directors where they have been issued new passports but CIP still dead? Have old passport? We are struggling with foreign assurance verification application and changes to resign them from entities due to this. If the person has got the old passport, which has expired, and then now he got the new passport, so the new passport need to be verified at the foreign assurance verification. After that, once it has been verified, then you can be able to file director amendments, and then you can resign whoever you want to resign, or you can appoint whoever you want to appoint. So Hope, what if the old contact details are lost? As I've already responded to this one, even though the old contacts are lost, when you do the director change, contact details change, the link will be sent to the old contacts, even though you lost it, and then as well as to the new contacts that you have indicated. Once you receive on the new contacts that you have indicated that this is the new contact details, you will get the link. Once you get the link, then you will approve the link. Then the system will wait for the response from the old contacts. And then after 24 hours, if there is no response from the old contacts, and then the contact details will be updated because you have approved on the new contact details that you have updated. What happens if they don't have access to old details? Yes, it doesn't matter even if you don't have access to the old details, as long as you have responded on the new contact that you have captured. Once you receive the link and then you responded by approving the change of contact details, then after 24 hours, because there will be no response from the old contacts, then the change will be updated as you have approved. How do we fix an ID number? The company was registered manually, and when we received the company documents, the ID was incorrect. On the step-by-step guides, we have the guide that deal with the fixing of the ID, as I've even indicated in my presentation. You can go to step-by-step guide to update invalid SAID. You will select that option and then you go through the step-by-step process. And then at the end of the process, then you will be able to receive the OTP. Once you respond to the OTP to confirm the change that you made, then the ID will become updated. Can you still add a director using a third party by emailing the COR39? As I have indicated, you don't need to email the CR39 because we no longer process manual CR39 application. But you can use the third party to file director amendment on our K2 system. And then the person can do the filing of the change of, the change of directors, except the change of contact details. If you want to appoint a director or you want to resign a director, the third party can log in using any customer code to do that change. But for change of contact details, it must be the profile of the affected director. But remember, you don't have to file manual CR39 because we no longer have a system to process those documents since the 4th of December, 2023. Where exactly are we supposed to change our details? I can change my own details, but I cannot change on the companies that I am a director of. Where exactly are we supposed to change our details? You will see when you file the director amendments, you will navigate on the options where there is a director amendments. Below the director amendments, it's a director change of contact details. Then that is where you need to select that option in order to update the contact details of the director. Then you will have to select that option, and then it's a very short step-by-step process. You select that, it won't even take you 5 minutes to finish. Then you select that option, and then you go through the step-by-step, and then you put in the information that you want to change, and then after that, you will receive the link. After the link, you respond to the link, and then if you respond to the link, you approve the change. Then you are not going to get the changes immediately. You will have to wait for 24 hours, and then after 24 hours, the contact details that you have requested will now be updated. And the company can also not change my contact details. No, the contact details are only required by, the contact details of a director can only be changed by the profile of that person. Any other profile cannot be used to change the contact details of a director, which means that even the third person or the filer cannot use his own login profile to change the contact details of another director. So he either use the contact detail, the profile of that director to upload and change the contact details of that person, or the person himself or herself can log in using his profile and change his own contact details. Different profile cannot change the contact details of another director. I registered a new company on Biz Portal, but the surname on the new registration certificate is not correct as it is appearing on my ID. Yes, if you have registered a company and then you find the certificate, the surname there is not correct, then you can still follow the step-by-step guide on the website to update the name and the surname of a director. You go through that process. You will get the link of Home Affairs where you will have to click so that the system can pull the correct information from Home Affairs, and then it will show the correct surname only after you have responded to the OTP. Because if you don't respond to the OTP, the system will not make any update on the changes that you have requested. So once you have finalized the transaction, you will receive the OTP. You don't have to ignore the OTP. You must respond to the OTP. Once you respond to the OTP, the changes that you have requested will now be updated. How does a company get training? Oh, it's gone. How does a company get training and later get credentials? I'm not sure about the training that the customer is referring to. How do I deregister from a company? If you want to deregister, maybe you are referring to the resignation. If you want to resign from a company, remember, a person is employed by the company, the director is employed by the company. When you decide to resign, you hand over your resignation letter to the company to inform the company that I'm resigning. Remember, resignation is voluntarily, so due to your own personal reasons. So the company will have 10 business days to file director amendments to resign you as a director. So once you have handed over your resignation letter, the company must file director amendment to resign you, and then you will receive the OTP to confirm that you have resigned as a director. Once you respond to the OTP, the system will automatically approve the application and change you as a director, and then you will be out of the company. So that is the process that you need to follow. You resign with the company must file the change. If the company fail to file within 10 business days, you have got the right to lodge a complaint to CIPC by filing COR 135.1 form to lodge a complaint that I have resigned, the company is not submitting the necessary documentation to CIPC. Then CIPC, through the enforcement unit, they will have to enforce the company to comply with the Companies Act to resign you as a director because you have handed over the resignation letter, but the company is failing to do the normal process of resigning you as a director. If a director signs a resignation letter, like in the first quarter of 2024, but the company doesn't lodge with the CIPC at the time, if they lodge in 2025, will it be processed without penalties in 2025? Yes, as I've already indicated, the company has got 10 business days after there is a vacancy in the company to fill that vacancy or to file necessary documents to CIPC to change the directors. So if the company fails to respond to the resignation of a director, as I've already indicated, the director can submit a complaint by CR 135 form. But if the company ultimately submitted the documents, as you have indicated here, in 2025, there are no penalties charged. It's just an administration process that we need the companies to comply with, not to sit down with the transaction whereby the director has resigned but the company is not submitting the necessary applications. But if they do submit, even if it's after 10 business days, there will be no penalties as per Companies Act. There is no penalties that will be enforced to the company. The changes will still be processed as they have been submitted. And then the person who resigned will now be resigned, even though the 10 days has already lapsed. Another question is regarding contact details. For instance, if the old number is given to another person that you don't, and by mistake he or she responds to OTP that is not important to them by mistake. Yeah, remember, if the person, the contact number has been given to another person, I don't think the person will approve the change of contact details once he receives the link, because that person never initiated the change of directors. Obviously, once he received the link with approval and objection, he can object the filing or he can just ignore. And then once he ignores, the rightful person will respond to the link by approving the change. And then after 24 hours, that change will be updated. But I don't think the person who approved the person who received the OTP, the link on the old number can approve the change without knowing what the change is all about. How does a new director get to be registered in a new company without existing director consent? What happened is that any customer code can be used to file director amendment. So what normally happens, you find that where we find the objections, you find that the filer, the person requested me to do the filing on his behalf, that I've been appointed by the company, so I want you to do the filing on my behalf. Then I log into using my profile. And then from there, I go to the company, I enter the company registration number, and then it will open the profile of the company. And then I will do the amendments of directors. Then I will appoint the new director. Then once it is approved, because the OTP will go only to the newly appointed director, that person will respond to the OTP. Once he responds to the OTP, then the system automatically approves the application and then will also generate the certificate to confirm that a new director has been appointed. That is when now the company will come and object the filing. But it is possible that the person can be appointed in a company, provided you have got the registration number of the company, and then you can be appointed into any other company. The person who is using the profile, any profile can be used to file director amendments for any company. So that is how the person can get appointed in a company whereby the owners of the companies are not even aware of that person. Then they will file an objection. Can you please repeat the answer for the wrong surname on my registration certificate? I said you need to go to step-by-step guide on the website to update the name and surname of the director. You go to that step-by-step guide, you go through the process, you will even get to the DHA full name update. You click on that button so that the system can pull over the information related to the ID number from Home Affairs. And then once the system has pulled over the information from Home Affairs, then at the end of that transaction, once you respond to the OTP sent to you, the changes that you have requested will now be updated. I hope I've answered your question. But if you don't respond to the OTP, the change that you have requested will not be updated. Moses said, how do you do if your company is deregistered? Once the company is deregistered, remember you cannot make any changes of directors. So you need to reinstate the company first. Once the company is reinstated, then you can be able to file director amendments. But if it is deregistered, no change will take place at all.
Thank you very much, Thomas. And then that brings us to the end of today's webinar. And then we trust you found the session informative and valuable for your work going forward. Thank you once again for joining us, and we wish you a pleasant day ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, and have a great day.